Posting content or building a personal brand is by far the number one way to get new leads and grow your online coaching or consulting business in 2026. But despite this, many entrepreneurs are actually afraid to start posting content, or if they are already posting, they're not harnessing the full power of it. And it's because of this major limiting belief that you'll just be perceived as like cringe or judged for what you're doing. So, having been in this space for 3 years now, and yes, I started in high school, so I'm very familiar with this experience. I can say that I've encountered this myself a number of times, and I've also worked with several people who've also experienced this handicapping belief. So, in this video, by the end of it, I intend to give you exactly why this is a problem. We're going to diagnose where it comes from, and we're going to solve it all in the next few minutes, okay? I promise that by the end of this video, this will no longer be a problem for you, and you can finally take advantage of the gold mine that is in producing content and building that personal brand for your business. And so, let's go ahead and get straight into it. What will people think is the biggest killer of businesses today, I think? It is a serial killer. I think there are probably more businesses in the modern age that have failed just because of this string of words, okay? This is a dangerous, dangerous mindset to have. And it's because of this. One of two things is going to happen if this is what's in your brain. First of all, you will just post nothing. And in doing so, you don't get to even try your luck at, okay, videos can book me calls and calls are going to make me money. You don't even get the chance to even try this. And if you do post, what you post is going to be mid. And what I mean by that is this. You're not going to be able to take full advantage of content as long as you're afraid that being authentically you or doing it in a different way is going to be rewarding. So you're going to kind of try and hold yourself back, but in doing so, you fall into this pit called the inferno of the same, which is a pretty recent philosophical concept that just talks about like how today's standards, because of the interconnected society with the social media, everybody's kind of restraining themselves and self-censoring. So you end up kind of like this Buzz Lightyear meme, where you just end up commodifying yourself because you're the same as everyone else. And ironically, branding is supposed to be an escape from commodification. So why are we so afraid to be different? Let's track this down, okay? First of all, there's the evolutionary psychology explanation. Basically, as humans, we used to live in tribes and we used to cooperate in tribes. If we deviated from what the tribe deemed as the norm, we risked being exiled. So if we then get thrown out into the wilderness with no resources, no help from tribe members, well, we're probably going to die sooner or later. So we've basically adapted to constantly seek approval and conformity to stay a part of that tribe to ensure our own survival. The problem is, we no longer live in this kind of world, okay? We don't live in tribes anymore. We just perceive any human around us to be part of a tribe. Secondly, there's this psychological phenomenon. It's called the spotlight effect. You will know what this is, you'll be familiar with this, but you may not have heard the name. This is basically when people just seem to believe that they're being noticed and observed by others more than they actually are. So they'll be very performative and, make a showcase of themselves, even though nobody really cares, okay? It's a stereotype amongst teenagers. But essentially the reason this happens is because we are always at the center of our own world. We can't really quite literally bridge the gap between our brains and other people's brains. So what we're doing is constantly looking out for ourselves and constantly looking out for how we are going to be perceived it kind of links back into that first point, that evolutionary psychology, keep being approved by others. But in reality, most of the time, nobody really cares because they are also at the center of their world. So they're thinking the same thing. They're like, oh, you're observing me. And then you're thinking, well, you're observing me. But in reality, no one actually cares. This is a very recent thing that's come about since the inception of social media. And it's called context collapse. Basically, before the 24/7 interconnected society, we were around different groups of people. You act differently depending on who you're with. So you're not going to act the same way around your friends as you're going to act around your family, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to social media, now, essentially, you put content out there, and that content is going to be in front of tons and tons of people, regardless of who they are. So your friends are going to see the same thing that your parents are going to see. And so essentially, that will probably elicit a negative reaction because they don't understand what you're doing when you're posting content online. Because your parents are going to be like, well, this is not how you act. This is not normal. This is weird. Same with your friends. They're going to be like, why are you being like this? This is just strange. Of course, people don't understand this. So how do we actually overcome this? Because looking at these explanations, evolutionary psychology is seemingly dialed into our heads, like we can't escape it because we're humans and this is just how we've evolved. Same with the spotlight effect. And third off as well, context collapse. Well, you have to post content on social media, so you're going to have to deal with context collapse. There's nothing to be done about that. This is really the hard truth, okay? Are you really going to let them stop you? Are you really going to let your peers from school, your colleagues at work, your family, your ex-girlfriend, are you going to let them stop you from posting content and tapping into all of the benefits that come with building out a successful personal brand online? Make it make sense, right? So you really just have to be like this. You're going to constantly be thinking, oh, whoever they are going to see this. Like, oh, I got to try and self-censor and, make myself look favorable in front of them. But in reality, who cares? Those are not the people that are going to be sending you money to work with you and to experience the positive change in their life that you can offer them through your service online. And at the end of the day, what we have to understand is that we are all cringe. We are all cringe, okay? Somebody is going to see me and think, this guy's cringe. But equally, somebody's going to see me and say, hey, I like this guy's vibe, okay? It's all completely subjective. We all think different things are cringe, okay? And that's just what it is. So we might as well just accept it and be like, yeah, I may be cringe to some people, but who cares? Because to other people, I'm not. And if I feel like I'm being myself, at the end of the day, that's all that matters when trying to build a proper personal brand, to distinguish yourself from other people and to avoid being commodified. You'll notice that people just stop caring anyway. Like, they might make fun of you at first, like, oh, this guy's, he posts content. But after a short time, they'll be like, yeah, he's the guy that posts content. Like, people will become familiar with it and they won't care as much. And also, if you're dealing with people that are like gossiping all the time, like, do you remember those like girls at high school and they used to just always gossip about something? Like, because, it's not your problem that they're casting their own self-inadequacy, insecurities, and lack of a developed identity onto you because they have nothing better to discuss than the affairs of other people. That's not your problem, okay? And eventually they'll just move on to something else to gossip about. So you're really not taking that much damage at the end of the day. This is the major thing. This is like one of the biggest mindset shifts that I've had probably in the past couple of months. And this can be applied to so many different concepts outside of building a brand in business as well. But there are people who actually want your help. There are people who actually want to work with you, to like send you money, to experience that positive load of benefits that you can offer them, that value. People actually want this. Why would you try and cater yourself to people who don't want your help? It doesn't really make sense, okay? Not everybody's going to want your help at the end of the day, but there are people who do. So help those people out instead of wasting your time dealing with trying to help other people who aren't interested. So I appreciate you getting to the end of this video. I hope that you can take this and use it and just kind of build up like your confidence. Just like start posting. Who cares? Be yourself. Be different. That's the only way that you're going to stand out in a world of AI slop and people all just being the exact same. Okay, if you want help in building a unique personal brand that feels authentic to you and growing your business as a direct result, the link is in the description if you want to reach out to me and we can see if I can offer you some personalized one-on-one help. Great seeing you again, and I'll speak to you in the next video.